Welcome to Q&A. It is the 19th of September. It's always good to say the date, and we welcome you to come forward and ask us. We could call it an ask us, couldn't we?
Yes.
So yeah, who would be the first starter off the blocks who's got a question to ask? And we really encourage you to unmute, because it's great for us to get to know you as well and to ask a question. Pins dropping, or is it tumbleweeds?
Any questions on the pink diamond, sacred heart space?
I'll ask a question.
Yeah, here we go. Super Tara Nova.
So just with your soul name, and if you're given your soul name and you're given your soul purpose, and it feels quite macro and big, and you don't really know the steps to get there, how do you do the process to sit in that unknowing and I guess until you go, oh, I get it, this is what it is, compared when it's so kind of out there sometimes? What are the steps you take for people that have their kind of purpose and their soul name but don't really know what it means?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
For me, what I personally do is I come into my organic divine blueprint and my sacred heart space and I ask, like, what in keeper of the light, keeper of the infinite eternal living light, what does that mean for me? Like, who am I in that space? And like I hear messages from in here, so I'm using my heart intelligence and my gut intelligence to ask that question, because we want to break it down in, you know, it's a bit like if we've got a job description at work, you've got a title, but then it's all of your responsibilities after that. And another good question is asking, like, what are my responsibilities for my soul purpose? You know, is it an aspect for me? It's an aspect then on, okay, if I'm looking at universal law and the law of one, should I be looking at that and applying that every day? I'll get a yes. So it's an asking you aspect, and if you need some guidance on that, yeah, you can ask us some aspects from your, you know, your soul purpose at your big title level as to, well, what are some of those intricacies? Because you can ask, you know, the who, what, when, why, and how questions. So I would start breaking it down on that level. Who do I need to be? When do I need to be doing it? What do I need to start to apply? Who, what, when, why, and then how do I start applying that? Yeah, and it's a feeling piece, because you were only asking that, and I was putting it back to Ansara earlier when you were connecting into some new guides that have shown up for Ansara, and they wanted Ansara to tune in with them to ask, okay, well, they're showing up now, the indigenous Native American Indians, into our awareness for the equinox, which is coming up on Saturday, but they wanted Ansara to ask the questions on what is it then that they wish for Ansara to be bringing forwards, and when, and then the why, and then the how. So,
and that conversation we had highlighted to me, I don't ask. I sit in it, I sense, I feel, I get lots of different hits and knowings, but I'm not specific enough in asking a question and letting go of the attachment to it and waiting for the answer, and staying and not having an expectation of the answer either. So that's yeah, particularly masterful.
yes, and Jeremy and I have spoken many times about it. Like when we see an image or something comes into our awareness, or when we're presenting on the energy activations, like I see a little snippet, and I'll do it more actually on the 23rd on the equinox for you all, so you can hear the questions that I'm asking in the background as to, okay, why are you showing me this little piece? and I'm asking a question from my pink diamond, and then I'm either seeing an image come back to me or they're telling me something. So I'm having a two-way conversation, because there's not many of us that will see a whole image of a video that's coming out for us to interpret, and it'll be the same with your soul purpose. It then takes us to ask the questions and be inquisitive. So then we build up all of these little snippets into, okay, well, these are the little chunks then on my responsibilities of who I am, you know, as a soul, with this is my soul purpose. Yeah, it's generally given us in those little pieces. And in psychic development, we said that the answers are always given where the question is asked. The answers are always given when the question is asked. And what that means is that if I'm asking a question from the organic divine blueprint of my pink diamond, if I stay in that space, the answer comes out of that space, because remember, we're playing in infinite pure consciousness. But if I'm then going, oh, what's going on over here after I've asked a question, or what am I having for dinner? It's like we're breaking where the answer was going to be coming from, because we've moved our attention away from it. Yeah, so it's key. And if you're asking a question, then, okay, well, what are my responsibilities, and who do I need to be, and how do I apply that, and why do I apply it, and when? Ask a question and be in that space, and the answer will come forwards from there. Yeah, because you're drawing it out from your flame, 23rd dimension, infinite pure consciousness, it'll come through. And it can be quite subtle. It can be images. You might see an image, and it's like, oh, okay, well, why am I seeing that image? And then you'll feel, or you'll get an answer that'll come through from there too. And for me, when I hear aspects like that, like I was sharing with Van Sara only this afternoon, I hear the voice from here, and then it comes up to my ears. Yeah, so the voice actually then comes up, and it's like, oh, then I know it's not me thinking about something from up here. We hear the voice from here. But it really does take asking the questions.
And giving yourself quiet time, your daily rituals. You might do your clearing, but do you give yourself time to just daydream and allow yourself to drop out of the alpha brain waves down into theta, and really be in that cusp of when you're in a bath. And one day I was having a bath, and I was laying back in the bath, and I was really dozing off, but I kept my arms up, and every time I nearly dozed off, my arms would go like this, and it would just keep me in that sweet space. And so it's really, it's like Master Samporn is very masterful with his brainwaves, and it takes quite a lot of practice to get yourself into that really relaxed state, receptive state, and it doesn't come from busyness. Also too, you can always do your own pendulum chart, and again, go with your gut feel, go with what's coming up for you, any hunches that you've got, and you could make a pendulum chart with a number of possibilities plus other, and then you can ask your guides or your higher self, and from your sacred pink diamond, what would be the number one thing I could focus on to fulfill my purpose? And you'll already have some ideas to put down, and then you might get, this is the number one thing, or it might go straight to other, which tells you you're completely off.
Yeah, that's a great point actually you brought forwards, because if you're not hearing or seeing any aspect, you can use your pendulum on the A to Z chart and ask it to spell it out for you, which is another great tool. Yeah, use the A to Z chart, and I'll post it in again on the recording that we'll put into the portal tonight of the A to Z chart that you can print off, and then get your pendulum to spell it out for you too.
Did you want to come in?
Yeah, use your pendulum to spell it out.
And then I've got a little story to tell you, which I think always has stories that would.
Yeah, and sometimes when we ask a question, you may not get it immediately. You may not get the answer straight away. It might pop in when you're just waking in the morning, when you're in that beautiful flow, or before you're going to bed, and aspects like that. So it can pop in when you are in that relaxed state. And it's like, wow, where did that come from? Yeah, so it can come in like that too. So if it doesn't come in at that immediate time, set the intention then that it's going to come in when it's required. And as I say, yeah, it can be when you're walking the dog, driving the car, when you're just in a quiet space, in the morning.
And just really from that beautiful space within your pink diamond, just be open to receive with whatever really comes forward. Like in Sarah said, with no attachment. And I know, like with mine, soul purpose, you know, it evolves too. I'm finding that your soul purpose evolves.
Oh yeah, does it what?
And so, you know, if you feel like, yes, there's been an aspect of my soul purpose that I am fulfilling, but then you feel like there's a bit more to that, you know, then yeah, go back and re-ask, you know, is there something new for me coming forward? And just be open to receive whatever's coming forward with no attachment to it.
Yeah, soul purpose is a really big one. You know,
Mhm.
it really is. Like it's a whole massive piece in itself. And you know, and sometimes if it's that level of questioning that you're asking, then sometimes you do need some support in really getting the intricacies coming out of it. You know, it's that divine aspect of who you are is probably the single most important aspect of who you are and why you're here embodied at this time. So sometimes, yeah, we might need some support or reflecting backwards from us to help you, you know, bring out all of these little responsibilities if it's on the soul purpose, and you know, what does it mean then for me to be fulfilling that? But it's really important, and it's really come up to that stage now of, you know, we're here as starseeds, you know, we're here to elevate our consciousness and transform the world. Like that's who we are as every single starseed on the planet. You know, and each and every one of you on the call is fulfilling your soul purpose by being here and by showing up and asking the questions and clearing all of that crap out of your energy fields and supporting humanity. And oh, hang on a minute, let me just clear my family. And oh, how about clearing the 100 people on my work sites, or you know, doing that too. So you're again stepping into who you are by the work that we're doing out here for humanity, and that's why we're here as starseeds.
And would you say that there's a lot of common shared soul purposes?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely can be.
Is the order of things naturally to fulfill those more common shared soul purposes before you perhaps step up into your individual?
It's a really, really great question, because in most organizations you'll have, you know, a CEO or a director at the top, and then you'll have some middle managers, 10 or 15, but then you might have 100, 200, 300 workers, you know, at the bottom. And it's the same then with the soul purpose. You might have someone who's more of a CEO at the top, keeping an eye on things. You have the managers, you know, getting involved, and then you could have hundreds, thousands of people there that are just here to hold the space and just be in here, or whatever that aspect is. Yeah, so yeah, it's a really, really great question. Yes, so you can, absolutely. You could have some people that are just the managers or the CEO to open things up, and then the others are there really fulfilling it. Yeah, and again, not better than, you know, it's not better than. We've just each got our own role and job. So let's be as masterful as we can in it, without being egotistical and saying, oh, well, I want to be playing in this Buddha space, you know, immediately. Well, hang on a minute, let's just entrain you to get into that space. You don't need to put yourself on a pedestal with myself or Jeremy, or put us on pedestals. You know, don't bring that into your awareness either, you know.
And if you're feeling too that, you know, you've received your soul name, and there's an aspect there that you feel like there's a soul purpose for you, but you're not feeling like that it's quite in alignment. So there's, you know, aspects that, you know, really seeing, you know, Master Sample and myself, or even Sarah, you know, you can really align that, and then that will really help you to tune and you know, be able to get those really definitive answers for your questions. So it might be just one small little piece that's not quite there for you.
There's no right order.
There's no right order, not at all.
No, and with a lot of it, you know, it comes back to heal thyself. You know, we have to have completed our work on ourselves. You know, we've had to complete and remove all of the baggage that we've carried from old relationships, mum, dad, teacher, minister saying you're not good enough, and clearing all of that out. We've got to heal ourselves on a physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, galactic aspect then we can start to step into, okay, who do I need to be focusing out here? But so many spiritual people, and you see it, and we all probably know them, they're focusing on, oh, let's just be out here. I want to be a healer, bypassers. Yeah, I want to go and heal the world. And yeah, you've got a great excitement, but hang on a minute. If you can't even maintain to keep your chakras open 100% of the time, who are you being out here?
Right.
How effective are you going to be helping any clients you're seeing if you've got zero energy yourself?
Mm.
So that whole piece in aligning with your soul, you know, is a massive piece. If it's not coming forwards, and it can just be that the timing's off a little bit. You know, with me, it took me 3 years to step into Sampurna when I got my soul name in India. You know, my name lived in my sock drawer for years because it was like, holy crap, I'm not ready for that. So there's no way on earth I was then going to get, oh, you're a keeper of the light and everything else that comes with it all. Like that took time and years to come afterwards. I was too in the third dimension. So there's that piece too. You know, you've got to be, if you've completed all of the heal myself on the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, forgiven everyone, all ex-relationships, ex-wives, husbands, everything else that's going on that you've accumulated in this lifetime and other lifetimes and simultaneous lifetimes and timelines, then you can be ready to fulfill life purpose.
Yeah, and I mean that was even like for myself when Master Sampurna brought forward that I was the keeper of the stellar gateways. It's like, okay, well, what does that mean? What does that role mean? But it's evolved over time. It's just evolved, and as I've gone through my process and my awakening, so that actually my soul purpose has really evolved through that.
Yeah, it's a big piece, you know, and you'll know the right time if anyone's not got their soul name. You'll feel it and know when the right time is for you to ask, you know, to step forwards and ask, you know, and just ask us, Sharamir, is it time now? Have I completed enough on my own evolutionary journey now where I can then start to be of support for humanity and why we're here? But you can't bypass the heal yourself on all aspects before you start stepping into it. It's the wrong order. Yeah, it's the wrong order. And we see that so much with spiritual people. There's an eagerness and wanting to help and heal everyone, but hang on a minute, you've not done yourself yet. So you're doing yourself a disservice. You're never going to be effective. No, not as effective as you could be.
I know myself, I've seen some like massive shifts in those that have received their soul name, and sometimes even when I'm seeing the clients and that, it's like, well, have you received your soul name? It's like, well, it's there for them, ready, bringing that forward, even if it wasn't even in their awareness, but to come forward.
Yeah, it's a great question.
Change.
Yeah, really, really great question. And you can see how the questions are really great because you can see what we've just covered off in 5 to 10 minutes there of asking a question, and then it comes forwards and using your pendulum to get the answers, or your knowing this, your clairsentience, or your clairvoyant gifts. So yeah, really, really great question. Yeah. Really.
I've got another question for you.
Yeah, sure.
Can I jump in?
Yeah.
I'd like to know about the soul flame. I know you touched on it tonight. I've done some work with my pendulum, and I believe my soul flame is in the Ascension School, which I'd be really interested to meet. I know I've had past lives with Lara Mayer, and I'm certainly aware of that, but it'd be interesting to know what determines or defines your soul flame, and and then I guess how you find it, how you find that person, whether it's a pendulum, trying to locate the name. But yeah, I'd be interested to know some about it.
Well, it's an interesting question. So when you say soul flame, you're probably talking about twin flame?
Twin flame, yes, sorry, yeah.
So the number one job is to twin flame yourself. And then once you're holding that resonance and frequency, then you should magnetize that person into your reality, or it can be through coincidence, through divine intervention, like me picking up a brochure in a cafe in Victoria that led to people, that led to Sampurna and I meeting. So that was very divinely orchestrated. And when you said you were ready to bring someone into your life and you wanted to meet your, did you not say eternal twin flame? Because we're eternal twin flames, meaning we split from the same soul, masculine and feminine, which is unusual and rare.
Well, which is the same as a twin flame. It's the same. It's the same concept. We have one soul that then splits and has multiple lifetimes in this timeline, and we can typically have 7 incarnated twin flame aspects of ourselves here at one time in this lifetime, in this timeline.
And you can have them on the other side of the veil too, and you can have female, just like best friends. I've seen like best friends that are like real sisters, and they can be twin flames in the same sex, even though they're not romantically. But you've got to be really careful, because many times your shadow twin flame will show up and it can be very fiery and a huge connection, but it's meant to trigger healing the shadow twin flame. And most of the time they go up in flames, and then that lesson then leads you to meet your infinite eternal twin flame. Yeah, but very, very, very much about twin flaming yourself and finding that self-love and reverence for yourself and being in your own power. And then before you know it, the flow that you're in, you'll be attracting or noticing people that you're running into, or setting that intention that that's what you're wanting to manifest. Yeah,
and there's no better than it's just a deeper connection on a soul level, like you're having with yourself. There's a lot of people that get hung up with wanting to meet their twin flame. However, if you've not completed the work on your physical, mental, emotional, spiritual self and let go of everything, then the twin flame can go up in flames. I love that saying. Before Ansara and I met my twin flame, which would have been your twin flame too, because we're the same soul. And I had a relationship with her after my marriage ended. And when I met Sarah, my twin flame, both of our marriages ended on exactly the same day, unbeknown to us. We'd already met in spiritual circles, but we hadn't finished the piece of work that we needed to finish between us, which is why the relationship never went anywhere. And that's what happens with a lot of twin flames. If you finish that piece of work, then you have an opportunity that again, it can be a beautiful, harmonious relationship.
It's very sacred.
Yeah, it's a very sacred aspect. And for me, it brought up a lot, because it's like, holy shit, if I've met my twin flame and it doesn't work, what's next? Is it a life of celibacy and being by yourself? No, because then when I was completing all of my work and then Sarah was in Melbourne, then we remove all the
talk about what you asked?
In what?
Or how you knew about me before you'd met me?
Yes. For me, let me just finish the story. Before we met, I had to remove from me needing to be in a relationship. There was a big piece of me needing to be in a relationship rather than wanting to be in a relationship, because society says, oh, okay, if you're by yourself, what's wrong with you? Is there something wrong with you as to why you're not in a relationship? So I had to remove that little piece of me and be comfortable in my own skin with being me and who I am, removing everything that I'd become in being in a marriage that was okay, you know. I become a different person, so I had to clear away all of that, which I hadn't completed before we'd met. So then, after I came out of my twin flame relationship and had to rebuild my whole heart, because it was like, shit, like when you feel an aspect of your soul and you've gone like this from having a relationship, it's like, holy shit, like that piece of mending your hearts. It was intense for a long time, a long time. So then I asked, okay, right, sorted that one out. All right, understand that. Know that, you know, when we progress through any relationships we're having, and twin flames or eternal twin flames are no different. It means that if we're eternal twin flames, that we are here to work for humanity. And yes, we see clients, and yes, we've got children and everything else, but our sole purpose for our work is for humanity. And that's what Eternal Twin Flames, why we come together, because we each hold an aspect, and all Eternal Twin Flames do, that when you combine, you have the power of 3, then 1 and 1 plus what you're completing out here. And there's nothing wrong with soul-led relationships that the majority of people are in, because you can have loving, soul-felt relationships, you know, for 10, 20, 30, 40 years with someone, and it's beautiful and divine relationships. But it just then means, if you're not generally in the twin flame ones, means that both of you are not going to be working for the betterment of humanity. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
And there's a lot of spiritual thought that twin flames were put together as these aeonic pairs, which we see in King Arthur and Queen Guinevere, Merida, and the other night when we were talking about Christ Michael and Mary. So there's an example of that twin flaming aeonic pair, and that's like the model that was created in the times of Eden, that there was this sacred union and this reverence for each other. And it was very sacred. And I don't yet feel that there's enough of this being taught on this planet. And that's what Mary Magdalene and Yeshua, of course, were twin flames, eternal twin flames, because they're still together now as Lord Sananda and Lady Nada. And then you have Master Saint Germain and Lady Portia. Again, these masters that have twinned. And so there are those counterparts on the planet. But if they don't understand the process of healing themselves, and if they don't understand divine union, which is really what the Magdalenes are here to teach, the Magdalenes and females healing themselves and stepping into their power is really what's here to teach the masculine how to connect with them at that twin flame level. There's a big piece for women to play. But, you know, for you, Master Antram, you know, you do hold that divine masculine, which, you know, is you stepping forward ahead of most of the timelines on the planet, you know, which is lovely to see. And yeah, where was I going with that? So with the Magdalenes, there's a great story, and I'm really bringing through White Buffalo Calf Woman, because she's really here to teach it from also the Indigenous culture, and all their culture is brought forward by White Buffalo Calf Woman. She created the sacred pipe and the 7 rites with the Indigenous tribal people from America, and I can feel their energy coming in now. And her story went that she appeared like an apparition to 2 Indian males. Whoa, can you feel that energy? And one of the men was attracted to her beauty, and he rushed straight up to touch her, and he got hit by a bolt of lightning and turned to a pile of bones. And the other masculine sat back and respectfully had reverence for her and connected to her first. And he obviously went back and told the story. And this was very much in their tribal culture, was to hold women in reverence. And that's really what we've seen that's been lost on this planet. So that there's many Magdalenes on this call, and they're learning to step into their power. They're learning to hold that space. They're learning to be like White Buffalo Calf Woman. Strike you down. No, not you, you're right. So yeah, it's really interesting where we're at the moment. So I would say that you're actually got a wonderful chance, because divine masculines are like hen's teeth. And there's a lot of divine feminine looking for the divine masculine. So it's great that you're putting yourself forward like that, because yeah, it's very rare for the divine feminine, who's the majority of those in the spiritual evolution collective, to be able to find men that are on that timeline with them and ascending. Very, very common. And then for those women that choose men who aren't ascending, they really have to be in their power. They really have to understand how to clear energy. And most of the ones that are really beginning to educate their partners and push back on them because they've found their voice. So it's all really quite working out on the
their skills on energy clearing and protecting and being in here, you know, some of those little simple practices that you can convey. But the key is in manifesting and bringing it forwards. Before I met Ansara, going back to that little thread, I asked for my heart's desire in a partner.
And you wrote a really good 10-point list
Yeah,
of what you
I
desired.
did, yeah. I asked for my heart's desire in a partner.
I saw that list. It described me down to my ankles.
I've got an ankle fetish. But you could add it in now. You know, I'm attracting my sacred heart's desire, you know, in a partner. Mine just at that time was my heart's desire in a partner, because then for me that fulfilled everything. You know, absolutely fulfilled everything. And I wrote down Noel Edmonds' book, The Cosmic Ordering Service, I had read. Yeah, Noel Edmonds, he created Mr. Blobby from the UK. Yeah, he had a massive spiritual awakening and he wrote The Cosmic Ordering Service. And that was then being specific on some of those items there that you wish your soulmate to be, in some characteristics.
And often you have to start with the list what you don't want and your red flags, and then from that you can create a list of what you do want, and then you really want to get down to your heart's desire.
Yeah. I should probably put some context into the thin ankles. I was just wondering where I land with that piece.
Don't worry. Leave everybody wondering. Leave the question mark over that.
Yeah, but being clear on that, you know, because when I then asked for that in here, for my heart's desire in a partner, and I had that and put it on like a little vision board, so I looked at it every time that I left you know, the bedroom and went back in there. I was holding that in my energy field. So when it's in your energy field, you're going to be magnetically attracting that person into your energy field. And when I was asking for that, my guide said to me, and I was like, oh, okay, does she live in New Zealand? And they're like, no. And I was like, oh shit. How's that ever going to work? I've got 2 children. How's it ever going to work? And I'm like, no, she needs to live in New Zealand. No. And the voice got louder, no, she doesn't. I'm like, no, that's BS. No, guides, she needs to live in it. They're like, no, she doesn't live in it. And I was like, holy crap, like this is like, how's that ever going to work?
And I pick up a brochure that says, are you on the road to ruin or transformation? And that brochure led me to you.
Yeah.
Because I was doing my healing journey. It took 2 years from the time I picked up that brochure.
You can find, and when I asked, a lot of the time with twin flames, you can be from different origins too. They will pop one of us, like me in the UK, and Sarah into, you know, Hobart in Australia, and they do that to make sure that we actually get through, because there's some distortions up here that try and stop that sacred union, you know, eternal twin flame and twin flame relationships.
Yeah, because we hold a lot of keys and codes for
grids. We do, which is why then they can say, okay, well, let's just drop you in there and you over here, so they don't notice.
And there's no doubt too that if there was more union of those twin flames like what we're describing that are divinely orchestrated, I feel like the healing of humanity would have accelerated by now between the alpha male and the overly yin female, which is very slow on the uptake. It's happening, but however, I feel it's very behind on the timeline because I feel the spiritual community has distorted what twin flame is about, and people just go obsessing about it and don't realise that there's this shadow twin flame, which is really essential for your learning. However, and there's not enough understanding that if we're on different timelines, if we're here to learn things, it is going to be painful, but it's actually divinely orchestrated for your evolution. So if you really want to look at a guy that really does a great job on explaining twin flames, go to White Wolf Academy. He's on Facebook and he's got a Facebook page and his name's Ulf, ULF. And he does write a very good piece on Heroskamos. He's straight up kind of guy. He doesn't BS around. He really rips into what's really become a commercial dating service kind of way of spiritually getting the message across, which has actually caused a lot of distortion on this planet. And a lot of people staying in shadow twin flame relationships for way too long and not realizing the purpose of that relationship is to break you both through and break you and, you know, be fiery.
And it's very 3D and very egotistical to feel that, you know, you need a twin flame relationship, you know, a soul-felt, heartfelt relationship.
Yeah, you did say soul flame.
Yeah, with your partner is absolutely fine.
Mm.
You know, there's nothing wrong with that. A twin flame or eternal twin flame is not better than.
Yeah.
It just means that we're here for the betterment of humanity, which we are. Our major work is like here. It's for the work that we bring out here.
Wow. I mean, if we weren't who we are, we'd probably be divorced by now. Like, we literally eat, sleep and breathe 24/7, you know, waking up in the morning saying, oh, my dream space brought through this. You know, you can see why we are.
It's a lot in a relationship, you know, and it's not for everyone, and it doesn't have to be. You can have beautiful relationships, you know, if your partner's not as spiritual as you are. You know, absolutely, you have very solid relationships. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more on that spiritual level that I'm looking for. That's sort of where I'm wanting to connect. Yeah. So, but that's such a cool story you guys have shared with us. So thank you very much.
It's lovely to share it.
Yeah, it is. And know, each and every one of you know, if you finish in a relationship, your next relationship will always be that next evolutionary step forwards. It'll be even more heart-centered, even more connective than the one that you've had before. We don't go backwards in that stasis. We don't. We don't. It doesn't happen like that. But you can be tested to make sure, okay, are you going to settle for second best, or are you going to go for what your heart's desire is in a partner? Because you can be tested by the universe to go, oh, well, you're going to settle for second best with this person and mess around with them and have wasting time and things like that, or you're going to be guided like us, and you know when you meet them, because when your eyes lock, like
I can still remember that was the first moment I saw
there's
you.
a piece there.
Left eye to left eye.
I haven't felt that connection with someone
it.
before. You won't miss it when you meet your twin flame. It's impossible to miss it. Like, every cell in your whole body gets excited. It's like, oh, hang on a minute, I've not experienced that before.
And it's not chemical, it's alchemical, it's alchemy. There's a big difference. Like, 3D relationships are chemical, based on you know, like a piece of chocolate creates serotonin and dopamine. It doesn't last. Whereas when you've got alchemy, it's because of the harmonious frequencies that you both share that it creates alchemy. And that's very, very different. And if you go to that White Wolf Academy, he does talk a lot about alchemy. That's a big difference. Chemical, 3D, alchemy, 5D.
Interesting perspective, because when I met my first wife, it was an aspect of when I'd ever felt like love at first sight. Because when I met Rachel for the first time and I looked at her, I knew we were going to get married, and it was very chemically based. It was third dimensional. Whereas when we met, there was a soul felt connection. It was like, wow, who are you? And then there was a real alchemical and really getting to know each other aspect that then blossomed into something very bigger than love at first sight.
And we had to go through court, and we had to put up 150 grand, like, and that was only within 2 years of knowing each other.
Yeah, so it didn't make it easy.
No, not at all.
There was a little test in there too.
Oh, huge test.
Yeah. So you'll know when you meet your twin flame, if you're meant to. Yeah. So it's lovely that you picked up on that, and
great conversation for us all to have too.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, because you can see with that one question how it's led on to relationships and evolution. As relationships can come and go, they can come for a reason, season, or a lifetime, and
they're our best mirrors.
And know that in that evolutionary journey, there's always going to be someone else for you. And again, it will be a deeper, more connective layer than you've had before in an old relationship. So don't settle for second best. And the key really there is that don't start having mummy and daddy time to begin with, because otherwise all your emotions, all of the chemical aspect can be getting involved. And when you're a spiritual person, you know, with high consciousness there, it can be a little test to try and catch you out if you're, you know, going with someone that really you shouldn't be with. Yeah. So it's always building those foundations first. And when we met, again, we had to do long distance relationships for,
Couple of years.
To build that solid foundation of really getting to know each other before, all of the chemical aspects started to, get involved.
I was just thinking I'm going to say, but when we got together, the second bang was the door shutting. Help it. Help it.
We will run some courses all the time for that. Actually, we will run some courses on tantra in some of those practices too. Yeah, because it's important. It's important for us. It's spiritual evolution.
Thanks, Sarah. Oh, lots of now.
I do have something else. I'm not sure whether I should share.
No, I'm related to going there.
No, I won't. But it leads on to we will bring forward some aspects there on just aligning.
We've got it with the Kundalini.
Yes, that's
It's
right.
Solomon's temple.
Yeah,
Dantian,
with
thymus, thalamus.
well, with the,
Clitoris G-spot, sorry.
yeah. Well, with aligning your chakras down there, because it's very important to be aligning your sexual fire and chakras. Like we do here, and keeping an eye on this when you're getting familiar with your partner. Well, if you take the time to really align your sexual chakras, you'll have, it'll be like Sydney Harbour Bridge on New Year's Eve.
Rewind.
Yeah, it can be a very different experience. Yeah, it can be a very different experience. Right.
It was a high
It
rating.
was a very great question. Thank you, Mark. Yeah. So we will do, we'll put that in somewhere because it's very important for your Kundalini and for your whole spiritual evolution if you're starting to harness your sexual energies. Absolutely. One of your quickest ways to your whole evolution. Which is why a lot of the time they all get distorted and why it's not spoken about very much.
Yeah, and we have got a bit of work to do on the Kundalini.
And why, there's more books and information about there now, but it really is quite simple, like all of these practices that we teach you. It's not hard. And you don't need to be going back to some of these Indian philosophies, it's too complicated. No, it's actually pretty simple, isn't it? When are we going to do that?
I feel we need to go through the light bodies and the Kundalini.
Yeah, well, it will come out in the creating of the 100 light bodies. Yeah, it's an important piece. Great question. Thank you for bringing that forward. Yeah, so hold that space and be expectant then that your twin flame will sharpen your reality. And a lot of the time they do by being introduced to other people. And we did say last year that for everyone here in Canterbury or Christchurch down here, that we will have like an afternoon and getting everyone together that's either on the portal or spiritually natured to have opportunities to connect. Yeah. And do that with others in your area too. We have a lot of people on the call, from Australia that have made some beautiful connections with each other. Yeah.
Yeah, networking is important.
Yeah, because a lot of the time in those twin flame relationships, you're generally introduced to the person. Yeah, it's generally how it happens. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, and that's what the Facebook group's about too.
Yeah.
Yeah, to make those connections. That's not a dating service, however, but it's like we've often talked about having a spiritual dating service in the site to do. And it's like, oh, actually, I'm going to place it. You're only allowed in if your frequency is over 111 billion. It's funny. It's like, Tommy, come back later when you've done some work. Go join Starseed Ascension School.
But it's an important piece, though. Like, if you are looking for a new relationship with someone, use your pendulum and have a little look at their energy. Yeah, have a little look at their energy. Are all of their chakras open and harmonious? You know, are they holding on to things from the past or well off into the future? You know, you're asked quite a few times, you know, to check in with, you know, prospective suitors for clients that hand soul and sleep.
People have hired me to do energy readings on a bunch of people going for a job interview, and I've been able to help them sort the hay from the chaff. Let's say.
Yeah, aligning with the right people. Yeah, absolutely.
So
Leah used that too,
because that was a very fun jaunt tonight, and if you feel that there were any questions, that's what the private Facebook group's all about. That you can always ask a question into there if it didn't get answered tonight or any time really. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So,
and we will be bringing these forward regularly. Every couple of weeks, 14 days with some Q&As, because there was a really great question and we really covered off a lot from those questions. Yeah, it really did.
Yeah, two big questions actually. I can see why we spent the time on that.
Two really big questions, because relationships mean a lot to people. Yeah.
And just one final thing on the soul purpose. You know, I've really enjoyed this last 6 months of just like knowing what I'm drawn to and what feels right for me has been very much dovetailing in to my soul purpose. And it's like a simple thing which seems so simple, that we did a water ceremony for the cacao, and I just had to go to Castle Hill to get the water. And it was amazing what unfolded from that whole experience, both for Inapompana and I. We had a big shift that day. And the thing that was really interesting was that challenge between your head and your heart. And so when you're really drawn to something and you can't quite work out why, but you can't let it go, or you feel quite obsessed or passionate about it, that is a really great sign that it's something aligning to you that can be leading you into that soul purpose. So don't discount anything you feel obsessed about. And I was really quite obsessed about it to the point where I didn't care whether it was rain, hail or shine, I was going. But then it was interesting, it did rain, hail or shine. In fact, it was forecasting snow. And then I got in my head and I'm going, oh, really? You just got OCD over this water thing. And, I tried to talk myself out of it. And that was really interesting, because I was really then not following my intuition. And I did a very simple thing that morning. I sat in the spa and I asked 2 questions. I said, Source Creator, do I need to go and get this water? I burst into tears. And as Inapompana, she goes, oh, and then Sarah burst into tears. It's serious. Because I don't cry, well, I don't really, like I do when I do.
You'll feel it.
And then I said, Mother Gaia, do I need to go and get this water? And then I burst into tears twice. And I was like, okay. And it's been profound, that whole listening to something that I thought I was obsessing about. Turned out it gave me such a deep connection to the planet, to the waters, what the waters mean, the experience of clean water, the light codes from that clean water, the experience of the cacao. And Michael's on the call. He had 2 cups and a cacao ceremony, went completely out of his body, and we had to get Master Samporta to bring him back in. It was so powerful. So that's just my little tip on the soul purpose for anything that you feel really guided. Like I had to pick up this deck of cards which were on Facebook, and I was like, whoa, feel the energy of those. Next minute, we've got them. Next minute, I'm like, I have to open that box. And next minute, the first card I pull is white buffalo calf woman. And I sorted these cards brand new, left, right, up and down, backwards and forwards, shuffled them. First one I picked up, the card just slightly slipped to the side, and I quickly grabbed it and I turned it over, and you could have pushed me off the chair. So remember, you have a lot of tools around. You've got the pendulum, you've got your oracle cards, you've got events, you've got just keep your filter open and just really notice what you feel happy about, joyful about, what you feel obsessed about, passionate about, because all these little things line up and lead you in that mysterious way that they say the universe has got you back, and you've just got to be open to it. So that was my really amazing experience that I had of that fight between my head and my heart won. And it was really wonderful asking those questions and getting those answers. Yeah. That's great to share.
Beautiful.
That's all right.
Oh, lovely connecting with each and every one of you
Yeah, it's been fun.
today. Yeah, it's been really good fun. Yeah, really good fun. So, yeah, if any questions pop up, write them down and bring them on, or pop them into the Facebook page too. This is a forum for us to help share and to support you on your evolutionary journey as much as it is for us with the questions that we're asked. It brings it into our awareness too, and we learn so much from the clients that we see every day. That's the openness of it. We don't attest to know everything. We're
learning something every day.
We're not aligning ourselves or thinking we're better than or less than anyone else at all, and that's the key. And the remembering to remember just to be in here. That's the key part of it. Yeah, being your pink diamond. Right. Okay. Well, we look forward to connecting with each and every one of you on the 23rd. It's going to be a really
Date night. Date night, everyone.
really power packed event. Yeah, it's going to be really amazing.
Like, get your jammies on. Be comfy, but not too comfy. Have all your food and your drink ready. It feels like it's going to be a big one.
Get your onesies ready.
Yeah, the onesies. Yeah.
Well, you'll feel and connect with the energy, like I put in the announcement today. It's going to be very powerful. It doesn't feel like it's going to be that long in length, but the power when we're connecting in with the indigenous Native American Indians and the others and these aspects on the planet, and that's going to be quite profound.
The sylphs, the salamanders, the undines, and the gnomes all want an upgrade and something to do with the elemental body. They want to come along for the party, along with the indigenous. Well, it's very important. It feels very much like this. I got it before. Buffalo calf woman. She's coming forward because it's about, there's a lesson for all of the indigenous tribes of America, that they got set up, and their setup was they fought against each other instead of becoming unified. And that's really the lesson that she's bringing forward, that humanity is one tribe, and to not let that happen again. Because if they'd unified instead of fighting each other and becoming traitors to each other, they still wouldn't be fighting to this day, and they're still not learning their lesson, just like the Atlanteans and Lemurians had the same lesson. They had the same lesson. Humanity's having the same lesson. So that's why I feel she's coming forward.
There's a lesson there for humanity, isn't it? Yeah, so we'll be helping to harmonise that.
But we only attach to the fact what a great lesson, and how we each bring that lesson forward. It comes forward with friends and family, with forgiveness and choosing peace and love above all else, and shining that light on that wisdom that we all carry with us. That, if we really distill it right down to soul purpose, then one of the most common ones is peace, that we're bringing peace and love into our lives in whatever way that we can do that.
It was lovely. Okay, lovely to connect with each and every one of you, dear ones, and look forward to connecting with you again very soon.
Thank you, soul sister.
Lovely that you were connected with them too, Tara. Yeah, from the Native Americans. Beautiful. Right. We will look forward to connecting with you all again very soon.
See you Saturday night.
Yeah, we'll do. Date night.
23/9/23. What does that add up to? 23, 5 and 9, 14. 9 and 7. What's that? 9, 10 and 12. 3. Wow, does it all add up to 3? 1 + 1 = 3. I would check that.
2 and 3 is 5.
Ah,
2 and
like
3 is-
when
Oh,
I
you had the 2s in 2, yeah. Of
yeah,
course.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5, 7, 17, 14 and 9, 23.
Get the calculator because when you're in your spiritual, I cannot spell or add up when I'm working intuitively. It just
23.
isn't the same part of your brain. Oh, here we go. Jeremy's, come on, Jeremy.
Jeremy's got a
Yeah, Shiana would have come up with it already. She's like the queen of numerology.
5 and 9 is 14, 16, 18, 21.
2 and 1 is 3. Ah,
So yeah.
2 and 1 is 3. 1 plus 1 equals 3.
Here's 3.
Mm.
Mm.
Okay, on that note, see you all on Saturday night. Good night, beautifuls.
Bye everyone.